As COVID-era restrictions come to a close, a large number of migrants have gathered along the US-Mexico border. Over the past few weeks, illegal border crossings have increased, and more migrants are arriving with the expectation that they will be able to apply for asylum in the United States after Title 42's expiration. The influx of migrants has left US border cities grappling with the provision of accommodations and transportation for the thousands that arrive daily. In an attempt to discourage unlawful entry into the country, the Biden administration intends to introduce a comprehensive new regulation this week, which would refuse asylum to the majority of migrants who were apprehended crossing the border and had traveled through Mexico or other nations on their journey to the United States, or who had neglected to utilize other legal routes into the country. On Tuesday in El Paso, Texas, U.S. border agents requested that a large group of migrants, who had congregated on the city's streets, surrender themselves to authorities. This plea comes as illegal border crossings have increased due to the end of COVID-19 border restrictions known as Title 42 later this week. Meanwhile, on the Mexican side of the U.S. southern border, migrants are gathering in various locations in anticipation of crossing over when border policies change at the stroke of midnight on May 11th. According to migrant rights activist Gladys Canas, migrants in Matamoros, Mexico have been purchasing life jackets and pool floats in preparation for crossing the Rio Grande River into Brownsville, Texas. Meanwhile, in Tijuana, located across from San Diego, California, migrants have queued up in long lines in front of a towering border fence on Monday, with the intention of surrendering themselves to US border agents. These events are transpiring in the midst of the Title 42 policy, which is set to expire on Thursday. The policy, which was implemented in March of 2020 during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, has permitted US authorities to deport hundreds of thousands of migrants to Mexico without the chance to apply for US asylum. As the COVID-19 public health emergency comes to an end, the Democratic administration under President Joe Biden has allowed the measure to lapse. President Biden, who is running for re-election in 2024, has been grappling with unprecedented figures of migrants being detained at the US-Mexico border. According to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, the president's public approval ratings were at 40%, which is close to the lowest level since he assumed office in 2021. The poll also revealed that Americans are dissatisfied with the president's handling of inflation and immigration. The reversal of several strict policies introduced by the previous Republican president Donald Trump has been the subject of criticism from the Republican Party towards the current president, Joe Biden. Although Title 42 has been maintained by Biden up until the present, a majority of migrants who were apprehended while crossing the border without authorization have not been deported. In fact, more than 50% of these migrants have been granted entrance into the United States, where they are permitted to pursue their immigration cases. Mexico has a particular selection process in place for accepting migrants into their country. The criteria are based on their capacity to accommodate, and only certain nationalities are considered. Over the past few weeks, there has been a significant increase in the number of illegal border crossings. Many migrants are seeking asylum in the United States, hoping that they will be able to apply for it once Title 42 is terminated. As a result, US border cities are grappling with the challenge of providing adequate housing and transportation for the thousands of migrants arriving each day. This week, the Biden administration intends to implement a comprehensive new rule to dissuade illegal border crossings. The regulation would prevent most migrants from seeking asylum if they were apprehended while crossing illegally after passing through Mexico or other countries on their way to the US, or if they chose not to employ other legitimate routes to the US. The administration plans to rapidly evaluate asylum claims based on the new standard and, if unsuccessful, deport the migrants. The efficacy of this measure could be hamstrung by the United States' limited resources to deport migrants. It is reminiscent of prior Trump administration policies that were met with legal opposition. While the rule is anticipated to face legal challenges, asylum officers began receiving training on the newly implemented standard on Tuesday. However, Some personnel have raised objections to its rushed implementation, and others worry that it will impede access to asylum services. This is the word according to 3 insiders with knowledge of the situation. According to an anonymous official from the Department of Homeland Security, people are furious. The shelters they are referring to have reached their maximum capacity. Despite the increase in personnel deployed by US authorities, crossing numbers have continued to rise in El Paso, one of the many border locations where this is the case. Migrants reported that on Tuesday morning, men dressed in civilian attire distributed flyers in Spanish throughout downtown El Paso, urging migrants to make their way to the closest US Border Patrol station for processing. Requests for comment made to the US Customs and Border Protection, CBP, remained unanswered. However, Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Patrol Council, which represents agents working on the US border, confirmed the distribution of the pamphlets. Most local shelters in El Paso, according to Camille Castillo, the director of the El Paso Coalition for the Homeless, are already at full capacity. Standing near the Sacred Heart Church in downtown El Paso, Daniel Mena, a newly arrived Venezuelan migrant, expressed his hesitancy to turn himself in on Tuesday morning, citing concerns over potential deportation. However, after observing other migrants successfully return with US paperwork, he changed his mind and joined the line at a nearby Border Patrol station later that day. According to Mina, she made the choice to take the plunge. To support our channel's growth and ensure broader awareness, kindly hit the like and subscribe buttons. This will help us reach more individuals and disseminate valuable information. Thank you in advance.